Hi everyone, welcome to another brand new episode of Women of Community Banking Podcast. We've got Vanessa with us today. Hi Vanessa, how are you doing?
Wonderful. How are you doing?
Today is amazing. I mean, sunny morning in the Bay Area. Usually I wake up in the morning to concrete jungle of New York, but today for a change, looking at mountains. Actually, yesterday was stargazing. So yeah, for a change, I would say uh, good, not vacation, good work trip out Bay Area. But again, thank you for joining in. We are elated to have you, Vanessa. Let's do a quick introduction. So Vanessa leads re- retail delivery from Mid Florida, been in financial services for close to 25 years. That's pretty
Yes.
long.
Mhm.
Prior to which she spent considerable number of years in healthcare and auto. She's used to sit in a bunch of community boards out there in multiple counties in Florida. So she also does a lot of board activities apart from her daily job. Right? So, Vanessa, I hope I was able to do half enough justice to your introduction, ma'am. If if I missed something, please feel free to add.
No, no problem. You did a great job.
I hope so. Let's start the show, Vanessa, with one quick question. Right? This long a career, moving from a different segment, financial services, now in credit unions for like 25 years. So, what keeps you going as a person?
I think it's probably different today, 25 years in, than it was 20 years ago. I think 20 years ago, when I started out in the industry, it was more so serving members and just really being able to help people. I was boots on the ground that long ago, running a branch and getting immersed in the community. I became really passionate about just being able to serve my community. And then, as I kind of developed in leadership, I figured out that I could, master what I was doing and master giving that excellent customer service. But the real value comes in being able to kind of create mini-me's and try to teach others how to give excellent service, how to provide for the members, how to advise members on their financial needs. And I've spent the majority of my career now trying to do that and develop other people.
That's fantastic, right? I mean, you are at that stage of a career where you want to give back. You want to give back to people, you want to develop people, build the next level of leadership. I mean, that's what I think that's the basic leadership lesson a lot of leaders need to understand. You cannot control the ecosystem forever. You have to build the next layer. That's
And
amazing.
I feel like that's also, where you experience more joy in your career is when you can see other people accomplishing. It's great to be able to, get an award or accomplish something, but it's even better when you can make that investment in someone else and see them excel and see them achieve, and then your talents and your abilities just multiply.
Exactly. This reminds me of a very close friend, I would say mentor, right? I mean, so Kathy Graham from Desert, she's an EVP out there. She echoes the exact same thing. Her vision, mission in her career is to develop, and it's amazing to hear the same thing from you. So I want to shout out to Kathy, and you guys should talk, and you guys should become friends for sure.
Maybe you can introduce us. Yeah.
So I can drop an introduction after this. I'm a connector. Moving on to the next phase, right? I mean, obviously, continuation of what keeps you going. So, what has been a journey so far? I tried summarizing your 30-year long journey in 3 seconds. That was not justice. So, if you can maybe elaborate a bit on your journey, that might be a bit inspiring for my viewers.
Sure. So, starting out in my very early days as an adult, I thought I really wanted to get into the medical industry because that's what I had been exposed to most of my life. My mom was in the medical industry. My sister kind of followed in my mother's footsteps, and really, I didn't have any family members. I had an aunt who was in banking, and I always kind of admired her, but I didn't really get a whole lot of exposure to what she did on a daily basis. So I wouldn't say that banking was really in the scope of things that I wanted to pursue at that time. So, I tried some various things in my career. I started out in the medical industry. I was kind of recruited over into a sales role and somehow ended up in the auto industry, which I actually loved because I got to deal with a lot of different type of people, and you learn a lot about how to deal with people in a sales role and how to deal with lots of different people in a sales role. So that was an interesting time. The hours were not awesome in that industry, but I did enjoy getting to meet lots of different people. And from there, I had a friend who reached out to me. She was in banking, and she and I were very close. We grew up together, and she's like, we are looking for someone, and I think that with your skill sets and your personality, this would be the perfect job for you. So I did the application to go work with her at a large commercial bank. And the funny thing is, at that time, they would do these different tests that they would have you complete.
Yeah.
And I failed the test. So I did not get an interview. And I'm like, I failed the test. Like, she's like, you couldn't have failed the test. So she called her boss. And, the test would ask you different questions about, like, would you refund this fee? And I'm in sales, so I'm like, I want to make the customer happy. So yeah, I'm going to refund the fee. So I guess it wasn't the answer they were looking for. Needless to say, I did end up getting a job with them, but I did not stay with them very long because their culture just did not align with what I wanted to be able to do for people. I kind of quickly found my way into the credit union industry. And when I kind of got my first taste in banking, I realized that whatever I saw in the medical industry was really just being able to help people, being able to, connect people with things that would help improve their lives and their financial well-being. And when I found the ability to do that in financial services, I realized I'd kind of found a home for myself, and even more the things that I learned about the credit union industry, and Mid-Florida specifically. I realized pretty early on that this was a place that I could establish a career and grow with the company. When I very first started with Mid-Florida, I'll never forget, we had 13 branches. And the reason I wanted to work at Mid-Florida specifically was because they were building a branch in my small hometown, which is a very rural town. And I found out about that early on when they were just in permitting. And I kind of started stalking our human resources director and said, hey, I heard you're building a branch in this town, and I'm interested in a job there. And she said, how did you learn about that? And I said, well, because I know everybody in town. So that was a head start. So anyway, she gave me an interview and she gave me my first opportunity with Mid-Florida.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for that.
That's amazing. So I think my next question was across pivotal moments, right? So did you, uh, I mean, were there any pivotal moments, or I would say mentors in your career, right, who shaped your approach of whatever you're doing right now?
So I could probably go on about several different mentors that I've had. One of my first leaders in the credit union industry, she was always, I usually say there's people and there's people. I would definitely say I'm a people. I'm a person. I have to work on the paper side. Anybody that's in banking, you've got to be able to dot the I's and cross the T's, but it was definitely not something that came naturally for me. And I probably learned a whole lot about more of the attention to detail. And part of the service excellence and the expectation was the attention to detail also. So I learned a lot about that with her. And not to let the little things go, because the little things become the big things. So you really kind of have to stay on top of everything. The longer you let those things go, then the bigger they are by the time you tackle them. I've had other mentors and leaders in the credit union industry. One of our former CEOs, he was an excellent strategic thinker. So, he was never thinking about what we were doing today. He was thinking about what we're doing in 3 years, in 5 years. He was working on that next, relationship, for that next acquisition opportunity or merger opportunity, or for that next line of business or product or service. So, he definitely encouraged me to think more futuristically. And then, like our current CEO, I would say I learned a lot from him about, I was always I wanted to get the ball in and run it. I'm someone who wants to execute and get the task done. But our current CEO really taught me more about teamwork, collaboration, and to kind of take that approach to solving problems.
So, Vanessa, my next question is, how does an average day look like for you? That's one. And second, a continuation of the same question, which are the areas that you oversee and lead at Midfighter right now?
Okay, so I'm going to do that a little bit backwards. So I oversee pretty much all of our retail arm of the credit union, all of our branch network. We have about 65 branches, all the way from Gainesville in the northernmost part of Florida, down to Naples on the Gulf Coast, and on the Treasure Coast down to Stewart. So we've got a pretty broad area of branches. I oversee all of the operations of those branches, sales, staffing, HR. Then I also oversee the help desk. So basically all of the retail interactions with the member and the service areas of the credit union. As far as an average day, I don't think I can say that I have ever had an average day. It's probably a mix, for me of, I kind of look at it as a leader. You have to be able to shift between two different roles. You're either a contractor or you're a firefighter. And what I mean by that is sometimes you're dealing with the emergent issues that have to be dealt with now. It came up, you got to solve the problem, you've got to address the issue, whether it be a member issue, whether it be an employee issue, whether it's a facility issue. You got to prioritize that first and deal with the fire, so to speak. The rest of your time, you've got your contractor hat on where you're thinking about the plans and you're, looking at building something and looking at creating something and where do we need to put, where do we need to put the plugs might be, what does that next product or service look like for our members? So, I would say my time shifts back and forth between those things. Probably 90% of my time is centered around people, whether it's our members or our employees, and trying to make things better for either members or employees, and keeping that focus on our members.
Now, there's a follow-up question to it is, Florida is pretty big, one of the largest credit unions in the country, right? That means that you have to be even more, I mean, I want to use the word consumer, not member, because at the end of the day, we have to start treating our members as consumers, right? Otherwise, we are uh, facing competition from not only credit unions, that's a very wrong way to look at it, but the bigger guys, the fintechs, they are there, right? So, and we have to compete. Gone are the days of not doing it, right? Uh, you leading such a huge retail network, how do you instill that principle of being consumer centric in whatever you do? I mean, you took an example in the initial podcast itself that in terms of refund, as a salesperson, you're like, yeah, obviously, always refund it. But as someone who runs a P&L, you'll be like, okay, that will hit my margin. I mean, from that perspective, right? So, how do you maintain that balance and how do you ensure that your team is always consumer centric?
So I think that at some point, I've worked for this organization from the time it was a much smaller organization until now we're a very large organization. And I would say, and I know we're going to probably talk about technology, but technology plays a big part in us being able to ensure member experience consistent across the entire state. I would say we focus a lot of time, effort, and energy on training our staff. We also will periodically, if we do an expansion, we will move some of our existing staff into that area so that we can bring our culture that we've already established into that branch or that area of the credit union. So those are a couple of the things that we do. Some of the newer initiatives. One of the things that I've started doing, we do different recorded trainings. So we'll do chief chats where if it's something that I feel very passionate about, that it's like a culture subject, I'll, do a chief chat where, either we'll do it interview style or training style and talk about, professionalism or customer service or the member experience, things like that. And I think that it helps when you can remove the layers and make sure that every member of the team hears that message directly. Then it doesn't get filtered through lots of different layers. So I think technology has helped us with that a lot because we can be having the same conversation with each member of the team. So those are a few of the things we do. As a company,
Mhm.
we also one of the things our senior management team is committed to is we actually travel around the state in about 6 different locations throughout the state. We every Wednesday morning we're having breakfast with our frontline team and our back office teams, and we are hearing directly feedback from them. How are our members being impacted? What are our members asking for? What are the trends that you're seeing out there with competitors? And again, that I feel like that takes all of the filters and the layers of the credit union out, and we're getting to hear that straight from the front line.
I think that's the most important thing that you're doing, because any successful chief retail officer I've seen is always with the front line, understanding what's going right, what's going wrong, to always, wear that firefighter hat, that, okay, if things are wrong, let's fix it like right away. Otherwise, it will be too late.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Now, if I were to maybe, ask you a bit more detail about the technology piece now, to me, technology has multiple pieces. One is experience, right? You can get the best of members, try to sign up with you, but if your experience in terms of onboarding is bad, you, the fund will just reduce, right?
Absolutely.
Similarly, when you onboard a member, if the experience of the member in terms of, just example, moving funds is not right, it just sinks. That's one part of it. Second is like hyper personalization. I mean, I sound like a broken record. I do not have a mortgage. I don't want a HELOC campaign to come to me. Otherwise, it looks complete spam, right? So there are two paths. Technology is digital transformation, and other one is personalization. Right? So how is Toyota using technology as a whole to keep up the pace? Would be a wrong word to use, but to lead the movement and remaining one of the most innovative and amazing credit unions.
Well, that is a great question. And one of the things that I would say is very unique to Mid Florida is we do a lot of our own in-house development. Our CEO will say that he talks to credit unions from really all over the country, and that is something that differentiates us, that we have our own in-house development team. So we actually end up building a lot of things that were offered by vendors in-house ourselves, and that way we are getting the exact product or service that we want. We've built out our own online banking platform, and that is something for our size that is very unique. But
Yeah.
this is something that we started 20 years ago. So, when credit unions ask, how are you doing this? How are you building this? How are you maintaining this? They wouldn't be able to do what we have today because we started this 20 years ago. And I would say that, obviously we have to keep up with the big banks in technology. And I think we do a very good job. We, of course, supplement with different vendors that, have things to offer that we may not be able to provide. But I think a lot of what makes us unique is we are very hands-on when it comes to implementing something. We don't really ever take anything from a vendor as plug and play.
Yeah.
We want to customize that to make it integrate well with our member experience and make sure that it has the Mid-Florida look and the Mid-Florida feel, and ultimately that it's solving the problem that we intend to solve for. So I think that we probably are a lot more tuned into customization with internally with the products that we've built ourselves and also with our vendors. So that's a big part of it.
Vanessa, it was great. Today's show, it was amazing. Again, thank you for taking your time out to join us today. Really appreciate it.
Oh, I'm grateful that to make this connection with you, and I'm grateful that you're focusing on women in the industry. I think it's great to focus on some of the leaders out there and what they are bringing into the industry. It definitely is a breath of fresh air to get to talk to you and hear from some of the other women that you've interviewed as well.
Thank you, Vanessa.